Hello, hello. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Dana. I am from Divine Goddess Cards. Today I am going to be sharing a double page spread using the mixed media art journal from Grafix. Now this is the 6x6 size, and in this set you're going to get several different pages of all the products or all the surfaces, not all the surface, a good chunk of the surfaces that Grafix offers. And then that also includes the disc. So let me just open this up here so I can show you. So you're going to get, of course, the chipboard covers. This is from their natural chipboard. And then you're also going to get 2 pages of the black craft plastic. Now this product, this in particular service, has been discontinued from Grafix. So if you like the black craft plastic, it is still available, so definitely pick in the mixed media journal. So definitely pick up a couple of these if you like this surface. And then you're also going to get more pages. I actually have taken them out because I will be using them in today's project, and I'll explain why to you in just a second. Okay, so here are the missing pages out of the art journal packet. This is going to be the clear Duralar, and then we also have the matte Duralar here. The reason why I have taken these out is because I'm a visual thinker, and I needed to think this through for my project. So the way that I'm thinking about setting up this art journal is I'm actually going to have the center be the focal point versus the cover. So that's why I did this. So what I'm going to be working on today is going to be the matte Duralar pages. And the reason for that is because I want this to be almost the center. I want to put the clear Duralar pages on top, and I want to have them work with the Duralar matte pages. So I need to set everything up. So that's the reason for my madness with that. So these I will be showing you in the next video that I post here on the Grafix channel. So stay tuned for that. But again, like I said, today we are just going to be working on the Duralar matte pages. I'm going to be doing the front of this one. I am going to be doing the back of this one because your book's going to open up like this. Make sense? Makes sense. Okay, so the main 2 images that I'm going to be using for these journal pages are these lovely ladies. These are from 2 separate collections from House Whimsy. I will have the specific details on those in the description box below. And what I want to do is I want to do the cool tone lady over here since she's looking forward, and then I'm going to do the warm tone lady over here since she's looking that way. So that she's kind of looking at her and she's kind of all in her glamour era here. And then my thought process for the rest of the book is going to be the cool tones on this side and all the pages on the left side, and then the warm tone, all those pages on the right side. For these 2 in particular collections, the main images are the people are in black and white, and then their accessories are the different color tones. So that's kind of what I'm thinking for this. Now, to get started, I do want to do some stamping in the background. Since the Duralar matte is a slick surface, I find it much easier to use a stamping platform to stamp on it if you want to get like the crisp image. Later on, I'm going to be just freestyling it and using a clear block. But for this start, oh my, those are stuck. Okay. For the initial stamp, I want to do my stamp platform. But those magnets are real stuck, so hang on, let me get those undone. Okay, I got my magnets sorted out a little bit here. I just bought new magnets, and they're strong. Much stronger than the 15 or however year old magnets I was using. Okay, so the stamp set for the background stamping that I'm going to be using is going to be this one from Tim Holtz and Stampers Anonymous. And I want to put my focal image essentially where it's going to go, because I want the stamping to be coming from behind her. So I'm just going to roughly line it up here on basically where she's going to be. I think I'm going to move it a little bit over here. Okay, there we go. And then these stamps, if you're not familiar with the cling rubber mounted stamps, they're exactly like your woodblock stamps, but they cling just like clear stamps would. Now with the Duralar, since I don't have any kind of medium or anything on this, it's just a straight Duralar. Test your inks if you're going to be using ink pads. Of course, you know, your acrylics and things like that are going to work, acrylic paints, acrylic inks. But if you have, you know, stamping ink pads, definitely test those first. The one that I'm going to be using today is StazOn. I find that that works the best for me on the Duralar mat, so that's what I'm going to be using. This is a permanent ink, so it does work on the slick surface of the Duralar mat. I'm just going to ink up my stamp here. Since I'm using the stamp platform, if I don't get this perfect the first go, I can do it again. Go, and then I'm just going to stamp that down, give it some pressure. There we go. And I like that. That's pretty good. So I'm just going to set this to the side so I can clean it off later. And carefully remove this. This is still, your ink is still going to be wet for a little bit. So gently set it to the side, don't smudge it. Now if you do smudge it, since we are using the Duralar mat, just take a little bit of rubbing alcohol, hand sanitizer, something that you have that has a higher alcohol content in it, and you can get that off as long as it's not dry. And second stamp. Okay, so for this image, let me flip this around. Every single time I go to stamp this stamp set, I get this one upside down. I don't know why. So we're going to line that up, and then again, her I want kind of in this corner down below. So I'm actually going to scooch that over a bit. No, I want to put it on this side. Yes, that looks better. About there. Yeah, that works. Same thing, close the door, stick your stamp to the door, and ink it up. Give it some good pressure, even pressure. There we go. Okay, I like that. So same thing, carefully take it out of here. Set it aside to dry. And then I'm just going to stick my other stamp there so that I don't lose it before I can get it cleaned off. To adhere the main images to my art journal pages, I'm going to use Artist-Tac. This is a micro dot adhesive. Of course, it's a dry adhesive that GrafixArts offers. And what it is, helpful. It is helpful if you have nails to do this. I don't know if the camera will really pick it up here, but it's little itty bitty dots, little dot adhesive that turns any of your embellishments, images, anything like that, that will turn them into a sticker. So I'm just going to stick my lovely ladies on here, just like that. Now sometimes some of the dots will stick to the other side of the relief page. So what I like to do before I flip it over is just rub as many as I can off. If some of them do stick to your page, to the front side of your image, it's fine. Just grab an adhesive eraser and it'll take those off. And then what I like to do is I actually like to cut out where my images are instead of working with the whole sheet at this point. The only reason for that is I have a tendency to stick my arm in the adhesive. So if I just put this full sheet of adhesive somewhere else, I'm not going to stick my arm into it. And then I like to just rub the back of the image just to make sure that all those little dots get all over everywhere. And then I'm just going to set this aside, let my stamped images dry, and I'll be back to show you the next step. Okay, everything is dry now. It really doesn't take that long. I just like to be extra cautious with this. So I'm going to go ahead and stick down my lovely ladies. For me, I don't know why, but I find it much easier to line things up when I put them on their side. Nope, that's wrong. Not that page, Dana. This page. Okay. Did I do that right? Yeah. Okay, so I want it over here. Good grief. Start working, brain. Do y'all ever get that way where some days your brain just doesn't work? And it's also a great thing about using the mat, the Duralar mat, is if you have a grid on your work surface, it's much easier to get things lined up because you can see through it. Of course, I line things up to the nearest ish because I'm not that worried about it being straight. But that's just me. Okay, and then I'm going to immediately set that aside so I don't stick my arm in it. And then this one, line it up-ish. I want her down here, but about 2 lines away from the bottom of the page, I think. There we go. And then with the Artist-Tac, it is not permanent until you give it a good rub down. So if I needed to move these images, because I got them a little bit more than wonky-ish, I could do that. Which, yeah, that was fine. Okay, so for the next step, I'm going to put the Distress Collage medium over the entire surface of this. There's 2 reasons why I want to do that. I want to seal these images because I'm going to do some watercolory effect-ish situation with acrylic paint, and I don't want the acrylic paint to get on the images. I want to seal them first. And then also what this is going to do is create brush strokes, which I love on my projects, but with the painting technique that I'm going to be doing, you don't get brush strokes. So I want to add them in. That's what we're going to do here. And I am going to put these on a sheet of deli paper. The only reason for this is because I don't like cleaning up this collage medium off of my glass mat. But you obviously don't need to use the deli paper if you don't want to. Okay, and I am going to stick to up and down for my brush strokes. I want them to be there, but I don't want them to be kind of all over the place. I like just the up and down look. And you don't have to be perfect with this. Just make sure that every bit is covered. So in these little bits here, I'm going to go a little bit messy just to make sure that all the bits are covered, and then smooth it out a little bit. And then I'm going to immediately take this off so that the collage medium doesn't start to dry. Because again, since we're using the Duralar mat, it's see-through, so you'll be able to see if any of this paper sticks to it. So I'm just going to fold that up. I can use it for another project. And grab another piece and do the same thing on this one. And again, take this off. Okay, and then I'm going to let these completely dry, and then we'll be back to add a little bit of color. Okay, so everything is all dry now, so I'm going to go ahead and add the paint. Now you can do this with any clear, or not clear, translucent acrylic that you have. I have distress paint, so that's what I'm going to be using. Specifically with distress paint, you want to make sure that you give it a shake, and a little bit is going to go a long way with this technique. So I am literally putting 2 drops in my palette. That's it. That's all you need. And then for this one, I just matched the blues to the blues in the photo. And then because I want this to be like a wash, a watery wash, obviously, of color, I'm going to go ahead and I am going to give a couple squirts of water into the paint here. And then using a wet paintbrush, I'm just going to give it a bit of a mix, and then I'm just going to kind of haphazardly put it on here. And then because everything is sealed, it doesn't matter where your paint goes. If it ends up someplace where you don't really like it, you can remove it. Like, I probably shouldn't have gotten that crazy and put that directly on the photo. I'm just going to end up removing that. But hey, you know, it's fine. Everything is fine. We're working on an art journal. Nobody ever needs to see this if you don't want them to. And then I want the paint to run. I want it to do its thing. So I am going to give this a very liberal spray of water. And I am just going to let it do its thing. I'm going to get a bit of paper towel and just kind of blot up where it's moving, where I don't really want it. And then you can kind of push it out where you kind of want it to go, which I want it away from the photo. Okay. I'm liking how the darker blue is flowing in this area, but I don't like how there's none in this area. So I'm just going to add some to that area. Put a bit right there and a bit right there. Just give it a little bit of a spray to encourage it to do something. And then, yeah, I'm liking how that's moving, how it's going. So I am just going to let this sit. I'm not going to move it. There's a lot of water sitting on that surface. So if I move it, it's going to completely change. So I'm going to let that sit. I'm going to do exactly the same thing with the other page, just in warm tone colors that again match the photo. And I will be back after everything dries. Okay, so you can see here, everything is dry now. And you can see how we got this like watercolor effect with the acrylic paint. But then because we used the collage medium, we also have those yummy brush strokes. You can see it in person a little bit better than the camera is picking it up. But I just love doing that technique. And it works so well on the graphic surfaces because you don't have to worry about all that water that you put on it soaking into like a traditional paper and then ruining everything. It's, you know, it's a film, it's plastic, it's not going to be bothered by the water. But at this point, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a bit of a shadow around my main image. And to do that, I'm just going to use a black watercolor pencil. And I'm just going to lightly color around the image. I want her to have just kind of the hint of a shadow, just a little bit to make her pop off the page. I don't want, you know, like this big black ring surrounding her. Now, if you are a little bit more skilled than me, you could, I'm sure, get away with doing this with acrylic paint or even traditional watercolor paint. I prefer using the pencil. I feel like I have a little bit more control over it. So I'm just going to go around and I'm going to color in around all of the edges. This does not have to be perfect. Again, you're using it on a non-porous surface, so you can remove it if you need to. And I'm not going to really worry about the bottom of the image. I'm just going to put a little bit on the edge, just in case, but this is going to be covered up later, so not really worried about it. And then using a wet paintbrush, I'm just going to go around and activate that pencil. And I just like to work in circles, just little itty bitty circles, and I will also work in sections. I found that with things like this, it's easier to kind of blend them out while they're still wet versus trying to do it after they're dry. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to soften up that hard line that we have there. So again, it's just a bare hint of a shadow, not necessarily a black outline. You want to rinse off your paintbrush quite frequently, just because the paintbrush will start holding on to that pigment. Okay, so while the warm tone one is drying, I'm going to go ahead and work on the next step for the cool tone one. So again, on this one, you can see it shows up a little bit better on camera. You can still see, even though we have like the watercolory effect, you can still see the brush strokes in there. So cool. Okay, so I'm going to be using some Archival ink. Again, for this step, you want to use a permanent ink. Since this is going over the matte medium, Archival works just fine. VersaFine Clair will also work. Okay, so I'm just going to do just a little bit of stamping just to kind of add to it. And I've just got some random stamps from a few different stamp sets in my collection. All the details for those will be down below. So for this one, I'm going to focus the stamping in this area and in this area. And I'm going to start by adding just a little bit of script. I love adding script to my projects. Most projects you'll find some sort of script stamp somewhere. And this one's just some music notes. This is basically just for visual interest. Any kind of stamping that I do like this. So it doesn't need to be perfect. If the stamp doesn't stamp, entirely perfect, or it's, like this, a light ink, you can't really tell what it is. It's just strictly there for some visual interest. I'm going to add some numbers. For those, I think I'm going to go in with just a bit darker of a gray ink. And when doing this, remember you are stamping on a slick surface. So just be careful that you're not, playing slip and slide everywhere with your stamps. Go, and then I think I'll do the darker ink. I always like to add some sort of circle as well. So I'm just going to randomly put that in there. There we go. And then this one. There we go. Okay, and that looks dry, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the same thing for this one. And then on this one, I'll focus here and here. I gotta visualize these how they're actually going to be in the book, otherwise I'm gonna do something backwards. So for me, whenever I have an image that's not up to like the edge of the page, I like to add something. Generally it's washi tape, just because I'm not crazy about the floating head style situation here. So I just got 2 different black washi tapes that were out of my stash. I'm honestly not entirely sure where these came from, but just some sort of washi tape will work. And for me, I like to rip one edge of the washi tape. Usually it's the edge that's overlapping the edge of the paper, just because again I don't want to see that straight line there. I'm okay if the bottom is a straight line, but I don't like the top to be. Which I know sounds weird, but when you see it, hopefully it'll make sense. So I'm just going to rip one edge, and this doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, I like it real wonky, or as, kind of jagged as I can get it. Some washi tapes like this one like to rip in pretty much a straight line, so I encourage it not to. Go. And then what I ripped off of there I think is a little bit thin, so I'm just going to do that same thing for the other one. Okay, and then I'm going to take the thinner washi tape and I'm just going to leave that as is, and I'm going to line it up on the bottom. Just like that. So it just kind of gives it a little something extra. And you could do this with pretty much anything. You could do it with, you know, some solid ribbon that you attach with the double tack. Artist-Tac would probably even work for ribbon. I haven't tried it, but I'm sure that would work. Some sort of die cut or something like that would also work if you don't have the washi tape. And then what I like to do is just take a sanding disc. You could do this with a nail file. And I just like to lightly kind of run over the top of the washi tape. This just kind of scuffs it up and makes it a little bit more worn looking and vintage. And then if you have some hanging off the edge of the page, you can get it off real easy too. Now I'm going to add just a little bit more kind of visual dimension, and then I'm going to do that using some distressed crayons. Again, this is something that you could use acrylic paint for. And then I'm going to darken up the areas where I stamped just a little bit. This is just kind of for the composition to kind of bring your eyes toward the center image there, or the main image. So with these crayons, it's real easy. All you do is messily apply them and then smush them around with your finger. Since they are water soluble, you can remove them if you need to, especially since we are working on the Duralar. Okay, and I'm just going to add just a hint of black there, and then just an itty bitty bit here, and there. And then these clean off your fingers real easy with just a wet cloth or a baby wipe. Okay, I think we're good on that one. So again, I'm just going to add the additional dimension to the areas where I stamped. And then last but not least, I'm going to add some splatter. And I'm just covering up the faces a bit with some paper towel here. I don't mind if the splatter gets on the image. In fact, I encourage it most of the time, but I don't particularly like it to be on the faces of my main images. And to do that, I'm just going to use some watered down black acrylic. Again, I'm using Distress, but you can use whatever you have. Then just with a regular paintbrush, you can also do this with a fan brush. Just go in and splatter. Now mine is a little bit wet. If you want big splatters like that, then use a really wet brush. There we go. My splatters are kind of all over the place today. But that is okay. All right, there we go. I'm going to stop there, otherwise everything is going to be speckled. And I'm going to go in and I'm just going to soak that up a bit. Okay, we're just going to leave that area alone. Apparently it wants big splatters. So just know when to leave it, and I'm going to leave it. Okay, and then just to dry the paint a little bit, I'm going to go in with my heat tool. Okay, so we're mostly dry now. I just wanted to dry it enough so that I could give you some close-up views of each page here without having to worry about smearing my splatters everywhere. So there we go. I am absolutely in love with how these pages turned out, and I can't wait to see how the rest of everything is going to line up, because like I said in the beginning, the front page is going to work with this, and then also the page behind it is going to work with it, since I did the Duralar matte, so it's translucent. So I still want to make sure that the page behind this works when the book is open. But anywho, thank you for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, please do consider subscribing to the channel and liking the video, and I will see you in the next one.